While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
Welcome to the May 25th, 2022 Water and Sewer Advisory Committee meeting. I am Bob Kelly, the chair of the committee, and with me this evening is Carl Wickstrom, a member of the committee, and Molly Cowan, the select board's representative to the committee. Unfortunately, we do not have a quorum this evening. Some folks, members of the committee, were unable at the last minute to attend. So all discussions this evening will be discussions only. We will render opinions on the abatement, but the actual votes will have to be done via an email from each member of the committee, and then that will be entered into the public record. But we will render opinions tonight, but we will not be voting in an official capacity. I apologize for the inconvenience for those who are looking for abatements. So we'll get right into the abatements. What I'm going to do, it looks like we have two members here and then someone waiting on Zoom, and so we will shuffle up the order a little bit. I think you were here first, so what is your name?
Jane Sullivan.
Jane Sullivan?
Yes.
2
2 Kathleen Drive?
Correct.
Okay. So we'll take you first, since you were here first, and we'll just shuffle the order up a little bit. Okay, let's, we'll wait until we get... 2 Kathleen Drive. Okay, so it looks like, just by what you had sent in, that we had sort of a squirrely toilet situation, and it was in a part of the house that you don't use very often, and that there was effectively what looks like a pretty small leak that occurred, and then you got it fixed. Is that all of those fair statements?
Yes, I didn't use that half bath for probably almost a year. My husband used to use it, but he passed away a little over a year ago. And it was in the den, the half bath. And I went in there to use the computer and I heard it.
Sorry, would you mind speaking into the microphone there?
Oh, not at all. Okay. It was in the half bath that I don't use
Sure.
anymore. I use the main bathroom. Because my husband passed away, he used to use that bathroom. I just happened to be in the den and I heard the toilet make a noise. And I opened the door and it stopped, and then I heard a dripping noise. And so I called the plumber, Tim Olson from Exeter, and he came right over and fixed it. It was the flapper, he said. And then when he left, he asked me, did you notice that your water bill was more the last time? And I said, no, if anything, it was a little lower. And I thought maybe we caught it in time, but I went out to get the mail a few hours later, and there was the dreaded letter of high water usage. So I guess it had been dripping for a while, but if it had been in the main bathroom that I use, I would have heard that, and I would have, taken care of it right away.
It really doesn't look like there was much of a leak at all, according to the records that we have.
Well,
And
my
not
bill
very
almost
long.
doubled from the last bill that I had.
It looks like
Yeah, with
it
it-
started on March 26th, and you fixed it on April
24th,
21st.
I think. Yeah, I think it was April 24th.
Okay,
Yeah,
20, okay.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range.
correct.
And yes, there was a high usage during that time.
Right. Yeah, and I had no idea because I don't use that bathroom. Or I would have heard that dripping noise. So that's why I put in for the abatement. So, thank you very much for
Well, there are
taking
two,
it under consideration.
yeah, typically what we would do in a case like this is abate, we'd sort of meet you halfway. We would abate half of the excess water and sewer over your normal bill, which comes to $92.35. Now, if
Okay.
you're, and I don't know if they explained this to you, but you get one get out of jail free card
I read
every 10
that.
years.
Yeah, I read.
So we just would like to give people, if it's only around $100 difference, we just like to give people the option in case they want to hold out, in case something catastrophic happens. So we're happy to consider the abatement tonight. Just wanted to give you that option.
Yeah, that's something to think about for a second.
If, yeah, like I said, it'd be $92.35.
And
All right, I think I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass because I'm planning on staying there, and something else may happen, and it might be a lot higher. So, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, we will take a vote in that regard, and,
Okay.
I would say just, pay that extra. Like I say, it's only $92 anyway.
Right.
And,
Okay.
I will explain to Public Works after we do our vote that would be the case.
All right, thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks for coming down.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now. And what is your name, sir?
John Kruger.
What's your
He's
address?
on the planning board.
What's your address?
3 Sterling Hill Lane, number 313.
Oh, that was the Sterling.
The Sterling, condo association?
Yes, it is.
Hey, I don't think if I have I'm sorry, and John, what's your last name again?
Ruder, Grubeter.
Thank you.
This is very similar to the
Yeah, it is.
mobile home parks.
Since this is actually something that there are a number of operations in town. So if you would maybe step up to the mic and just give your version of what you're interested in having us consider.
Well, unlike the lady who just spoke, we're not having any trouble with toilets because we have a committee. There's 128 units at Sterling Hill, 55 and older community.
Right.
Most units, no unit has more than 2 people. Probably half have 2 and half have only 1. And we don't have toilet problems because we have a committee that goes around and fixes your toilet for free if you find it's leaking. All right, and they were doing, I happened to be on the board of the condo association, and the committee who does the repairs voluntarily wanted to give us a report. And it was then the first time, and I'm embarrassed because I've lived in the community for 6 years, I've never looked at the water bill because they go to the management company. And that's when I found out we actually pay a higher rate because we get into the 3rd tier.
Sure.
Even though we're all single-family units, there's one bill, so it's all calculated. And I just don't think that's a fair way to do it. And I know I've been told apparently a trailer park came in here already at some point and asked for an abatement. I guess I'm not really asking for abatement. I'm asking that we need to change the tier structure. I understand why you have it, because you're trying to discourage people from using water. But I've got 128 individuals.
I understand.
And the average is less than 80 gallons a day, which is lower than the rest of the town average. But because we pay one bill, we get penalized and have to pay the higher rate, when in fact that one bill means you're sending one bill for 128 homes, you're getting one check back, less work for the town. And I'm willing to bet, and I don't know for sure, but I'm willing to bet in the 15 years Sterling Hill's been there, we haven't been late with the payment and we've never missed a payment. You don't have to chase us for the money. And
Well,
the structure seems to be...
We've got 3,600 accounts, and we don't have to chase most of them.
Right. Well,
So I don't think
bet you
that's
chase one or two of
necessarily
them.
a criteria.
One or two of them. But no, I'm just saying, we make it easier, I think. You get to send one bill, we send you one check. Processing, the office work involved and all that is easier. So I just think, and I know it's probably nothing you can abate, but I think that the town needs to look at the whole structure of the fees, the cost of the water. I do have some experience. I had a Class 2 water license in this state for 20 years. I ran a water system for a condominium association in Londonderry. And 20 years ago, I was able to get water from Lake Massapequa through Pennachuck Waterworks. That association uses 12 million gallons of water a year, and they pay the same rate for the first gallon as the 12 millionth gallon, and the same rate every single-family home pays in that town.
Was it a new construction?
It was not. It had well water before. That's why I had a license to run a system. And we were fortunate enough because, you know, I don't know if you individuals have any experience with running a water system. A small water system, you have to follow most of the state regulations, except you have a smaller pool of users to draw money on to drill wells and replace pumps and everything else. But that the structure of a Pennachuck is exactly the same for the first gallon to the millionth gallon, whatever. Now, I understand that maybe a commercial use might be different, but we're not commercial.
Well, you know, you say that, but unfortunately, the way the utility is set up is that if there is one service that then branches out, you know, then it is a commercial establishment. Is the way we have looked at it historically.
I guess
And the reason for that is sort of the precedent, you know, the mobile home park. You know, granted, when many of the mobile home parks were built 40, 50 years ago, water rates were really low. There weren't nearly as many services, there weren't as many regulations. And so, there was no real tier difference at that time. Now, obviously, with all the regulations that we need to follow, the differential is pretty significant.
It is.
The solution, it really is for you to separately meter every unit.
So how does that make any sense? So you're gonna send out 128 bills?
I mean, we send out 3,700 already.
128 more, or?
It's all electronic. It's not, it's really not.
But billing is 8% of your budget.
It's not that much of a difference.
But billing's 8% of your budget.
I'm not sure what the point is.
I'm saving you that 8% over that 128 units. And so do the mobile home parks and probably the rest of the condos and apartments in town. I think the argument is, I think that we're being treated differently and not fairly.
Well, you're being treated differently, but it's fair.
I disagree.
There's one pipe that goes into your building.
There's one pipe that goes to 120.
And so from our perspective, that's a commercial enterprise.
So it would make more sense to you to put 128 meters in, read 128 meters, send out 128 bills, wait for 128 checks.
Again, that doesn't really, I mean, I would love to have it be, and I think maybe the answer here is that, whether it's us or we have a work session with the select board, and we can certainly entertain this.
Well, I think it's bigger than just this one.
It is.
property.
Yeah, there's a half a dozen.
That's why I don't expect that you're going to resolve anything really quickly.
Sure, yeah.
But I think by the
I
time
do
the next
think it's
fiscal year
worth-
runs around,
Yeah, I think it's worth a discussion at least to see how
No
we're-
question about it.
What's the status of the mobile home park request? What has happened with that? They requested a similar thing.
Well, they
about a year
had
ago.
one of the units in the park had an egregious leak.
Right, I know
And it
that.
caused, and then,
But there was also a request that they,
yeah, and we
to do something.
basically said the same thing that we're saying
Yeah,
here.
right, okay. So it's being treated the same as the mobile home park.
Right.
Okay. So in that sense, it is fair.
Do you know what the size of the service is that goes into your building off the top of
I
your
think
head?
it's a 3-inch.
3 inch.
I went through.
The problem, this is somewhat unlikely, especially with a 128 unit, but the problem is the precedent. You have a building, let's say downtown, and it's got maybe 4 or 6 units, and it was something back in the day, and now it's renovated into residential.
Right.
And so let's say we do what you're suggesting, and we just take the number and divide it out and just call it even. Whatever the different uses are, you can't tell what the different uses are, but it would just be divided by the number of units. The problem then is then down the road, if that building then gets redeveloped back into something else, I'm not sure that then it's,
You'd have to look at it again and change it again,
Yeah.
maybe.
But then there's, again, all sorts of precedent. We're trying to keep it so that everybody is the same. Is it 100% fair? Probably not.
Everyone's not the same, though. A home, a single-family home potentially pays less money than a single 80-year-old condo dweller for her water, in their water.
Well, we are going to be looking at rates over the next few months. And that would be a good time to assess your situation and then as it relates to some of the other similar situations in town.
Yeah, and like I said, I know that, Pennachuck Water does it they have one rate. At least in Londonderry, I know they have different water systems that they run, so I'm not positive it's 100% everywhere, but I would imagine it is if they're doing it in Londonderry.
Yeah, this is a combination of a number of factors, one of which is this is the way it's always been done, which isn't a good reason, but
That's
it's
not
the
a
way
good-
it was always been done, and no one complained about it because, again, water rates were so low, nobody
Right,
really
yeah,
cared.
yeah.
That's not a great reason, but that is a reason. The second issue is somebody like, Pennachuck, they have a huge commercial and industrial sector that can effectively write off
They pinch
things like
pennies-
that.
they
So they
pinch
can
pennies, too.
unilaterally,
They-
as a marketing ploy, say, great, we'll take this and divide it out by the number of condos.
I know a few of the people at Pennachuck pretty well, and they pinch pennies. In order to get them to bring the water line to the development that I was managing at the time, I convinced them to reroute the line they were trying to, where they were going to get to me, and I had to give them a piece of land that they could put a pump station on, because that was the difference in the price to run, two different options. So to
Right.
get them to come on my option, they put a, $300,000 pump station on our property that served us, but also served a good part of the town. But that was part of the negotiation. And he wasn't going to, they weren't going to run down to my direction without that.
Right.
So I don't think they're flush with cash either. And I don't want any special favors for the town. I just want to pay the same rates as a single-family home is.
It'd have to be a policy change. It
It
has
would
been
be.
discussed in the past. It's somewhat above, they ask us for advice, but
Right.
it's certainly not our decision.
When I talked to Matt Berube,
Yeah.
asked the question, he had mentioned the trailer park had brought this up, and there was nothing that was going to be done, and everything, and this is the way it's always been, kind of thing, but I don't think it always has to be that way. If something does develop and the select board's going to get involved and talk about it, Molly, I'd be happy. I'm on three town committees now. I don't mind another meeting. I'll be here tomorrow night.
Okay.
over that side of the table.
Well, we will
Sure you don't want to have a fourth?
I know, we need people.
take it under advisement.
Sounds like you're not experienced.
Will I be able to vote on this issue?
No, it doesn't affect the vote on this issue. We don't vote, we can't vote on, we don't have any, we don't really have a say. That's a policy change.
Yeah, I understand that. I didn't expect when I first talked to Matt, he said we have to file an abatement form, and I said, well, really isn't an abatement I'm looking for. I'm looking for a change in policy, and I appreciate that that's not going to get done tonight or next week or the week after, but may take until the next fiscal year.
Right. Okay.
But I'm sure there's other people in town that are interested if they thought about it. Agreed?
Yep. Especially with older buildings that are redeveloped. It doesn't necessarily make economic sense to put in all the water units, but we'll certainly take it under consideration.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Great to see you.
You too. See you tomorrow night?
No, I am not on the planning board. I know.
That's right. We switched.
I did. It's Nancy. In good hands.
All right, thanks again.
Great. Next is Dave Golick, who is with us via Zoom. There we go. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me.
Sure. I think you were here in the beginning. Because we do not have a quorum, we would not be voting per se on your abatement request, but we would give you our opinions as to where things may go, and then we will conduct an official vote afterwards that
Okay.
you will be apprised of.
Okay, thank you.
So, 21 Charter Street.
Yes.
So this is a tenant situation. They were away for an extended period of time. Someone was checking in on them, on the unit, evidently
Exactly.
with mixed success.
Yeah, so they had a relative of theirs checking in and in good faith doing it about once a week. And it was the middle of the winter. Certainly appreciated that they had someone coming in to check on it. Unfortunately, the person flushed the toilet, in fact, all of the toilets in the residence, I guess both of them, and didn't stay long enough to see whether it had stopped flushing. And unfortunately, it ran until the next week when that person came back. And at that point, they replaced that particular piece of that toilet. When we got the bill, the high usage notice, I went over immediately thinking there must have been some kind of leak or something like that. We found nothing because they had already fixed it. So.
It was a single toilet?
Correct.
Was there actually a leak, or was it just the flapper got stuck? It sounds...
I believe that the flapper got stuck. I think it was just open.
To use that much in that amount of time, it almost has to be fully open.
If it's open,
Yeah, it has to be fully
If the chain gets kinked or something, that's...
You can believe me that I was blown away. So anyway, so I'm asking, I mean, they cover the water and sewer bill, but it comes through my name for good reason. And so I'm in essence asking for an abatement of this. This is, as you can see, I think looking back over the records, the only time there's been an issue. I don't foresee another issue. And I think that they corrected it as quickly as they could. So.
Any thoughts?
Well, this doesn't seem to be outright negligence. It's not as, I mean, if it was a leak for a long period of time, that's one thing, but if they were not there whenever this was running all the time, they couldn't have detected it and ignored it. And in fact, they did see it and then fixed it. So I'm just wondering if we go to the higher amount rather than the half. Just discussion. I mean, all we can do is discuss tonight anyway, but.
You mean higher, meaning 80%?
I mean 80% of the, because it's a large amount of money.
Well, it is,
Yeah,
but
and it's a large amount of money.
I guess
The town, too.
We're
I
having
understand
a global discussion. My feeling is that if you're away during the winter, especially if you have somebody
Extended, yeah. Well, the other thing is you can just
and I don't mind
turn off the water to all your toilets if you're going to have an extended way out. That's
correct.
Something I intend to do next week when I'm going out.
You have any thoughts?
I mean, I'm interested in where, I also agree, it doesn't seem like it's negligence, right? And I think that if we hold folks to a standard that is almost unreasonable, I don't know. I try to be generous with these abatements because it's a pain. And it's only once in 10 years.
Yeah, and you're right. You were sort of asking people to know the inner workings of their plumbing system when, that's an unreasonable standard, to your point. You're right about that. It was maybe not negligence, it was a mistake, and you can't necessarily penalize
Overly.
an unintentional mistake. I would agree. I mean, so would it be your thinking that you would agree with Carl on the 80% or just the 50%?
I'm fine with the 80%. I think that's something that we
they're
can-
still having to pay an extra
Right.
$671. It's not nothing that they're getting. They're chipping
No,
in.
and right, and in this case, I would advocate to take the 1 in 10 year abatement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would recommend that. This isn't hopefully not going to happen very often again. You're not going to be able to come back here with next year with the same story. It's not going to work. So
Hopefully not. Yeah.
So what the three of us, our opinion would be is that that you could potentially receive an 80% abatement of the excess usage, which is $2,014.21. And we will.
That would be much appreciated.
We will poll the other members of the committee and get their concurrence and enter that into the record, but that's the way we're thinking right now.
Okay, much appreciated. When, you mind if I ask when it's likely to know, so I can give my tenants some idea?
Hopefully by tomorrow. I mean, I don't know we will be telling DPW that this is our decision, hopefully, assuming everybody gets back to me on the email vote,
Okay.
but presumably in the next few days.
And there's three of us, so there'll just be one more person.
Yeah, it should be pretty straightforward.
Okay. I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks for zooming in.
All right, have a good one.
Take care. Okay. We'll be right with you, Paul. All right, so now we'll go, we'll start at the top, 40 Hampton Road.
And none of these people are here.
No, nobody's here and nobody's on Zoom. So this seems to be one of those very small usage. I think the user appears to be a little freaked out on that it was more than their normal bill, but it's still a fairly small amount.
Yeah.
And I did talk to the folks in billing and told them to give everyone the option to defer their request because it was such a small amount. I'm not sure, I'm assuming that got passed along, but judging from Jane Sullivan's response, it didn't seem like she got that memo. In this case, again, it seemed like there was a pipe burst and the sun was on it right away, and so whether, even if we gave it an 80% abatement, it still would be $92.
Yeah.
I mean, until we have actual confirmation that they know, like, this is it, I would prefer to,
Defer it,
Table it. Yeah, this is,
or ask if they want to defer.
right,
Yeah.
and then if they say yes, or if they say no, like, fine, but,
We'll take it up next time.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm with you on that, Molly.
Okay, we will pass that along.
And it was only 3 days. I mean, it took care of it right away. So if we're going to give one, it should probably be the 80%.
Right.
Because they were right on top of it.
but still, I mean,
Yeah,
that's.
right. We don't want any,
Okay. All right, so that's that. Then 26 Crawford Ave.
this was a sad case.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more. This is one of those outside spigot issues.
The guy was in the hospital.
Right. I think in the past, considering February outside it froze. So was he in the hospital?
Yeah, that's what his wife is saying. I guess it's his wife, same last name. I don't know if it's his wife or the daughter or whatever.
Oh, she just said that he's very sick.
Maurice.
Oh, was in hospital, okay.
Yeah. And still very sick.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, I would say, in a lot of, it didn't go in the, way. How you doing?
Good.
Excellent. Great, thank you.
Stuff all spread out here.
Oh, that's great. So now we can vote on this.
That'd be super.
So I'll let you get settled, Mark, and then we will recap some of the things that we talked about so we can vote on them. and don't have to do the email vote. So that'd be great. I appreciate you making the effort.
Sure.
So the first one, we went in order because there were a couple of people here. Jane Sullivan at 2 Kathleen Drive actually had requested to defer because it looked like her abatement was going to be less than $100. And we told her about the once in 10-year thing, and she elected to defer her request because of that. And then we heard some discussion with Sterling Hill Condos, and we'll have to sort of enter into a longer-term discussion about charging Tier 1 rates to condos and mobile home parks and that sort of thing that only have one service. Probably a policy discussion over the next year or so, a few months at least. And then we just heard from Mr. Golick at 21 Charter Street via Zoom. They were away for much of the winter. A family member was watching the property. There was a toilet leak. They didn't catch it due to the fact that no one was there and for most of the leak, period. And they did fix it right away. Molly and Carl and I thought that an 80% abatement of water, the excess water and sewer, which would be $2,014.21, would be in order versus the sort of our standard 50%, just because no one was there.
And they found it and fixed it.
They found it and fixed it right away. They got a notice and they were right on it, very apologetic, and I think it sort of blindsided them. And, again, they were out of the area for that period. So if you, I know we're sort of throwing things at you, but if you thought that an 80% abatement versus standard 50% was reasonable and agreed, then we can vote on that.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Okay.
I move that we give David Gulick this abatement request in the name of David Gulick, a 80% abatement.
Okay, I will second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you.
You know the password? It's okay, I can use my phone here, it's fine.
Let me,
And then,
All lowercase?
try both ways.
Okay.
40 Hampton Road was the next one. There was a pipe bursting in the kitchen. They jumped right on it, but an 80% abatement is still less than $100. So we were going to ask if they wanted to defer that.
Let's try it again.
And if they don't, we'll
take it up next time.
Yeah, I don't want to,
Did you need the Wi-Fi password?
Yes, please.
So it's the Exeter public one,
Yep.
and then it's capital P, like public, the word public, and then another capital P, public, in 2012. So public,
man.
2012.
All right, I was very close, okay.
10-year-old password there.
Okay,
That's all
thank you.
good.
I will remember that. Actually, I probably won't, but it'll be safe in there forever.
All right, we're good. Sorry, Bob.
Not a problem. So we're going to ask them if they would like to defer.
Because it's such a nominal.
And if they don't, then I'll probably just shoot an email around to everybody and we can vote on the 80%, which I think is in general what we would be thinking about, but since it's less than $100, we want to give them, every option to not take that as their 1 in 10. So that was 40 Hampton Road. We're currently on 26 Crawford Avenue.
Okay.
An outside spigot froze. The owner was in the hospital, and the water ran for quite a while. This would seem to be one of those situations that
What is the
we
amount
need to
again?
give, I don't know, I would say a full abatement.
I would too.
Yeah.
I was gonna
The
say-
difference between a full and a half is around $500, and the guys in the hospital, I think, yeah, that's,
It's about as good of an excuse as you can get, so.
It's,
I move we give a full abatement to the Michael Blaze request.
second.
thanks, Molly. So full abatement,
$1,070.15.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Thank you. Next is Paula Gotti at 20 Hayes Park. This is again,
she really doesn't
sort of
want to
surprising they
do
even
this.
noticed there was a leak.
Yeah, she only, yeah.
And, sort of the criteria, she's comparing it to her neighbors,
Yeah.
which, you just never know. But
There's not any indication that they sent a high usage note. I mean.
the interesting
didn't
thing
even trick it.
is that,
Oh, yeah, it did. Keep scrolling down, you get the continuous leak flag.
so her quarterly water bill, or quarterly bill is like $30 or $40 more than normal.
Yeah. That's for a
But
whole
the
quarter.
repair bill was $2,500.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
I wish my bill was this low for water and sewer.
yeah.
Really.
I mean, again, I would like to give her the option of deferring this. It seems sort of crazy after spending $2,500 that she gets her 1 in 10 for,
Less
for
than
$50.
$50. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that?
I think it's reasonable.
Reasonable
Yeah, we
consensus.
just, maybe she wasn't aware that it's a 10-year, 1 in 10-year chance, so it's really for an emergency, get out of jail free card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the leak repair was $440. He also replaced the heat trace cable to keep her pipes from
okay.
freezing. That was the main part.
That's
of
what it
cost.
was.
Yeah.
All right. And then the last one is 3 Tamarin Lane.
This one, I have a little more of a problem with some of the usual ones. I would like to, he says it's fixed. If you read, I'm sorry, I guess the idea was the dog sitter didn't jiggle the handle to make it stop
Right.
running. Well, he needs to get it fixed where he doesn't have to jiggle the handle to make it stop running.
Right.
That repair needs to be made, not just jiggle the handle and say it's fixed.
Well, according to Shirley Murphy at DPW, she sent us a late
I saw
afternoon
that, but
saying that everything had been fixed for all of the abatement requests.
yeah, I think, but what she was saying is that the usage has gone down. That just means they jiggle the handle. That doesn't mean they really fixed it, so you don't have to jiggle the
Yeah.
handle on this particular case. I mean, I would like to get that clarified. Which one is this? 3 Tamarin Lane, yeah.
Well, and again, if we say, all right, so this, depending on your
And I don't see,
your strict interpretation of the term negligence, let's assume for the minute, that they've let a deficient flapper lever go
Yes.
unfixed. So let's say we meet them halfway, it's still less than $100.
Right.
isn't it?
And, I would say this would be a case where we send back saying, you may want to defer it, but, oh yeah, by the way, you should get your equipment
I mean,
fixed.
I would not give them anything if they don't get that fixed.
Well, yeah.
Until they get that fixed.
I agree. I think that usually we're abating if they're assuming that they're
Right,
they're
not
being
for faulty
responsible.
equipment.
Yeah, being responsible and fixing the problem. And if they're
Man.
just trying to save money and not do anything about it,
For that,
That's not our problem.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, we'll provide feedback to them on that and request that they fix their equipment. Okay, thank you. Next agenda item is a discussion with Paul Vlasich, the town engineer, who has presented a proposal similar to what we did for J.D. Hill a number of years ago when we were doing that separation project, that whereby there's a tie-in to, sort of an incentive to tie in sump pumps and things like that to the, separate it out and put it into the drainage system versus the sewer system as a way to reduce our I&I. So Paul, we got your write-up, appreciate that. And you want to spend a couple of minutes just sort of describing what it is, the history and what you have in mind?
Sure.
The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I did email out the information. Does everybody have that information on your screens?
Yes.
Oh, it's a new day. I'm still old school with the copies. Okay, if you need a copy, I have one here. As Mr. Kelly started off, we had a situation in another part of the town. We generically called it the J.D. Hill project. And it was high with inflow and infiltration figures on the private side, especially on the private side. And then what I mean by that is the sewer service, which is owned by the homeowner. There was also some tied into the sewer in many places there. So as a pilot project, during an entire utility reconstruction effort, we reached out to see if the town would entertain a private service replacement program. And it went through many iterations, but one was approved. And I'll eventually go through the specifics of that. So we've got another project. This project is not entirely like the J.D. Hill project, where there was a high I&I flow. This one here has a lot of sewer services that are in pretty poor condition. And there may be some I&I there will be some I&I contributors to that. However, we didn't do the flow metering before the project to find the scope of that. The soils are entirely different too. There's more sandy soils in the Salem Street project area as opposed to the J.D. Hill area, which would have less vulnerability to the I&I situation. But as the project was being scoped out and explained to the community, there was some of the questions was, well, is there going to be a service replacement program? I hear you did one of these things someplace else here in town. And so it took us a little while to get here, but now that we're here, we have more specifics to talk to you about. So I already explained that the majority of these services are in pretty poor condition. And there was a sketch supplied, and it wasn't generated by CAD or anything. That's my own little circles and coloring. And it started to explain where sewers were going to be replaced in the street, water lines, drain lines with a different color coding. So on that sketch, I want to bring your attention to the orange because that's where the main sewer lines were called for replacement. The sewer services along those sewer mains, the different types from vitrified clay pipe, AC, cast iron, PVC, etc., are detailed on that sketch with different colored symbols. The program that we'll eventually talk about excludes the other parts of the project that did not have a sewer line replacement component to it. For instance, Park Street. You don't see a sewer replaced on it, so we're not even talking about that as being a private service replacement program contributor. So now that we've got where we're talking about for sewer replacements and the possibility of replacing private services along those areas, I'd like to talk a little bit about the J.D. Hill program. And then I did an analysis following along the same methodology that the town followed with the J.D. Hill program. So there was a lot of debate on the J.D. Hill project. Should we be even considering the private service component? Should we install some drain lines so that there could be relief for some pumps to tie into those? Should the town be contributing to any private service replacements? So there was this quite elaborate decision tree here that gave us, after all that discussion, I think 11, 12 different options of what we wanted to do. And it was this board that really came up with the suggestion on how to tackle the dollar figures and the decisions. So with that, I'd like to go to a different sketch in your packet. And this was an information sketch. And it's the one with the little yellow house on it. This one here. Mm-hmm. And I say it was educational because many homeowners don't even know that they own the sewer, their sewer service all the way to the main in the street. Some assume that once they flush the toilet, it's not their responsibility. Some think it's at the property line. But no, here in Exeter, the homeowner owns all the way to the sewer main. So that was the first part of this. So this matrix of 12 options of deciding, what was decided for the J.D. Hill project was that the town, well, let me slow down even a little bit more here. On a conventional project, when the town replaces the sewer main, they typically replace the private service to the property line. And that's so that if you're doing sidewalks, you're doing roads and all that other kind of stuff, you got a good utility there that's not going to be breaking down and destroying your street after you've spent a lot of money to fix it. So typically, at the town's expense, the sewer service is replaced to the property line. So in this information sketch, you can see where the town pays 100% of that private service all the way to the property line. Now, because of the type of services at that time in the J.D. Hill, I say the majority of those were the Permaco, I can't remember the other name of what we called those services. They were in real sad condition, squishing down, falling apart, and also big high I&I contributors. The town approved the idea that for the rest of the private services from the property line to within 5 feet of the house foundation, that the homeowner paid a first $1,000 of that cost, And we had a cost from our contractors, a certain amount of dollars per foot, and it was $50 a foot at that time. The homeowner paid the first $1,000, and then the town would pay the remaining portion of that. And there's variable lengths of sewer replacements and that sort of thing. But also what was important during the J.D. Hill time, too, was the idea of giving all the residents where you could with drain lines, relief drains is how I think we worded it at the time. We would bring a drain service right to their property line, also if a drain was available for that. And then not a separate $1,000, but a maximum between sewer lateral replacement and drain line installation. The combination of those, that the homeowner would pay a maximum $1,000 and the town would pick up the rest of that. So that went on, and again, we stopped 5 feet from the foundation just so we weren't dealing too close to the house also. That went on, and the participation rate I've got in this little information packet is 86%, and that is wrong. It was 75%. So I apologize for that error in the information write-up, but there was 75% of the residents took part in this program. Now, to effectuate this program, I'd like to go to the next sheet after the house sketch, the information sketch, and it's called the resident agreement. And here you got to choose, the resident got to choose, homeowner got to choose, are you part of the program, the service replacement program, or are you not? Because if you don't want to take advantage of this, you still have to follow the rules of the sewer ordinance, which is no sump pumps in the sewer, you got to do things all above board. So we're still going to hold you to that. We're giving you a way that if you can't meet that now, you're going to have to live by, you have to meet it. So they could opt out, but they had to really know that they are responsible for meeting the sewer ordinance. But if they chose to be in the program, the town offered additional incentives. And I mentioned the maximum $1,000 paid by the homeowner at first. The homeowner could elect to pay that back over 10 years at 0% interest, which is basically $100 a year for 10 years for the town to get reimbursed at $1,000. Because the town would pay 100% of the service replacement to the contractor right off the bat. So I didn't mention that part at first. So then, if we turn the page and go to the lien agreement, this was some of the ways that documented the contribution of the homeowner. It allowed access to the property, and it also, that was the $100 a year over the 10 years for the full $1,000 if they did it. Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, this is a question about the opting in and J.D. Hill. So for those 25% of the people that did not opt into the program, is there an estimated risk that they're taking? So if their line is not going to be replaced, there's a risk that there's going to be some failure and they'll be responsible for that. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I mean, is there so people were made aware of that? I'm just trying to understand. So people were made aware of that, and it was their own decision not to opt in, and they're aware of the risk that there could be a problem further down the future.
Yeah, there was one other component that weighed into that too. Some of these servers had already been replaced at the homeowner's cost prior to the project. So if you have a brand-new PVC line in there, they had no reason to be into the program.
Right.
All that we wanted them to make sure of that, but if you got a sump pump, they can't be tied into the
Right.
sewer.
Okay.
So I just talked about the lien agreement, and then the last part of that information sheet from the J.D. Hill had this item called the plumber certification checklist, and some people had to reroute some of their internal piping to be able to get into this program. And the town waived any of the plumbing permit costs for the permit itself to allow their plumber to do whatever work they needed to take care of tying into this program. And with that, the plumber had to certify, because a lot of people don't necessarily want the town coming into their cellar all the time, that these items are met. You don't have sump pumps in, this connection is made correctly, that sort of thing. And if people didn't have a plumber to do that, our building inspector went and took a quick look around to make sure everything was okay, as a way of saying, okay, you're complete with this portion. So the town was trying to, according to that big decision tree, to get 80% of I&I taken out of the J.D. Hill area. And flow monitoring afterwards said that we did meet the 80% of I&I removal. So it was very successful. So that was the J.D. Hill project.
Just for everybody's edification, the original estimate in J.D. Hill is that it generated about 100,000 gallons a day of I&I, of infiltration and inflow. And we were able to remove, I remember at the time it was 70, but maybe upon final reconciliation, we were, so close to 80,000 out of the 100,000 we've removed from the town system. It was a very successful project. I would be interested to see going forward, Paul, because that was really driven by I&I, that project. And so I'd like to see if you have any calculations, because this Salem Street wasn't really high on the list of 23 catchment areas in town for I&I generation. And so maybe if you could get into the sort of the justification for the program outside of the fact that it's similar to J.D. Hill.
Yeah,
From the
that
size.
program was just to show the template that was already completed once in the town. And you're correct, the Salem Street area was not a high I&I generator. And no, there was not I&I calculations before the project. We had
Yeah, I was going to say, I looked back in my files, I couldn't find where there was a number like that 100,000 with J.D. Hill.
Yeah, there was not.
Okay.
There's not. And as you were talking about J.D. Hill, I have it that we remove 34 million gallons a year out of the J.D. Hill project with that.
Yeah, at 80,000, that sounds about right.
So why I'm here talking to you and using J.D. Hill as the template is because there are very poor condition services out here. We were asked about it by some of the residents during some of the design preparation meetings, and we're still being asked about it, not daily, but enough out on the project to see if the town would entertain a replacement program. Now, with that, how would the Salem Street project be different? Number one is in my notes of how many lots we have that could potentially be in the program, we excluded lots that already had PVC services. We tried through all of those mains that were listed in orange to try to go in and understand what the type of services were with cameras or whatever means that we could before the project. And that's how we came up with the types of them. And some of the unknown ones, you couldn't even fit the camera through because of condition of the pipe, roots, or something like that. So this is requested because of the condition of the private services and not so much related to the I&I quantity, of which I don't have a concrete figure for you about. Now,
Have there been problems with backups in the Salem Street area due to these crush services?
yeah, there has been.
I know that this thing, some of the lines were tuberculated to like 2 or 3 inches in diameter as opposed to 6 or 8.
Yeah.
And that's a great reason for doing the project.
Yeah, and some of the vitrified clay pipes too, they have the root intrusions going through, and you can see the actual joints, the gaps in the joints and stuff too.
Okay.
So let me talk about the contractor price. I said that back in the J.D. Hill days, which was, I don't know, I dare say maybe a decade ago, it was $50 a linear foot. The contractor, and there's a sheet also in your information packet, said that they would replace the private services for $95 a linear foot, so it's substantially higher. And they also caveat that we're going to put back the loam that we dug up and put grass seed on it, but we're not going to be replacing sidewalks and driveways and flower beds and that sort of thing. So I want that to be known too, that is just digging it up, putting the loam back that they've already dug up out of the yard, and then putting some seed in. So with that, $95 a foot was the first change, and there's potentially 52 parcels that could take advantage of this program once we remove some of those pressure mains and PVC mains. The town the proposal now in front of you, or at least the way that I'm thinking about it now, does not take and give a drain service to every property. Back when there was initial I&I investigation, say 14 years ago, some people filled out the information that said they had sump pumps, where they were going. When we were having the project meetings, there was also another form. Hey, do you have any sump pumps? Do you know where they're pumped to? The sewer, the outside, unknown, that sort of thing. So only those houses that have drain access and then has a sump pump situation would we consider putting a drain service to that lot or taking it in. So with all of that being said, let me just see if...
And if I'm reading your memo correctly, that is three parcels?
Well, there's 3 parcels outside of the orange lines. There's 3, like on a street where the sewer wasn't getting replaced but has a problem with or has a situation.
15 sump pumps.
Okay. So that's where the 3 come into. Those were added, but there's catch basins by a couple of those that we could do that too.
Right.
So the calculation then goes that because we drew straight lines from where we knew the services were to where we thought they exited the house, we had the linear foot calculations. And if we multiplied that $95 a foot to that, we would know how much all of these services cost. And if there was 100% participation and all of those estimates of linear foots are correct, then we would be looking at a cost of about $99,418. Now, using the template of J.D. Hill, where the homeowner pays $1,000, only as an example here, to get us started with our thinking, the homeowners would end up paying eventually $48,318. And then the unreimbursed cost of that $99,000 was just over $51,000. So that's the little calculation right before we get into the little chart. So what's also a little different with the Salem Street project is generally speaking, and I'm talking just on average, the houses are much closer to the road than they were over in the J.D. Hill parcel. So there's the same amount of effort of getting there and starting construction, but not a lot of linear feet to be replaced. So that could be why some of the unit costs are a little higher, other than standard inflation. So when I mentioned this program about a year ago, when we were just talking about the siphon situation that we were in, one of the comments was, well, that was $1,000 then. What is the service replacement cost? And we didn't have it in the bid, and we didn't even put it in the bid when we went out to bid because it wasn't solved yet. But that's why you see the letter, $95 a foot. I did some other initial calculations in the yellow box, in the yellow spreadsheet there, that said the homeowner pays the first $1,000, we just now talked about that, or the homeowner pays the first $1,500, and it showed the ramifications there, or the homeowner pays the first $2,000, and then the town pays the rest. And I got to explain that the last little column on that chart is the number of parcels the town contributes to. They'll contribute to them all and get reimbursed for some of those homeowner stuff. But what I meant by that is, in our first example, if the homeowner pays the first $1,000, well, of the 52 houses, 10 of them won't even cost $1,000 because they're so close to the right-of-way. So of the $1,500 now there's less residents that let me say that differently. There's more residents that are paying the $1,500, and that covers it all. So the remaining portion, there's only 32. This is assuming 100% participation too. And then that $2,000 contribution by the homeowner, 32 of those 100% houses are covered already, and the town helps with the contribution with 20 more. So that was just another parameter to see how effective any of the three of those options are. Or there could be a third, a fourth, a fifth, a fourth, fifth, sixth option too, whatever you do. That was just trying to be a little creative so that you can, if you wanted to entertain and recommend a sewer replacement program, that you had a flavor of what a little bit of flexibility meant in your financial calculations.
I have a question, Paul.
Yes, sir.
These numbers are helpful. I'm just trying to make sense of the table. I mean, for example, on the first line there, if there's 42 parcels at $1,000 a piece, how would that come up to 48,318, would it just be 42,000 even, or is there some extra calculation, extra expenses in there?
Let me make my answer simple for my calculations, okay? Instead of $95 a foot, let's just say it's 100, just to make my math easy right now.
Yeah.
So that means if it needed to be replaced 10 foot, that's the full 1,000. Well, there's probably a couple houses that might be 6 feet, 8 feet, whatever, so they're not paying the full 1,000. So that's why it's not,
It's more than 1,000 per house by this calculation, because it's 48,000 and there's only 42 houses. So I don't understand, it just.
No, it's 42 houses from beyond the
Beyond
first
$1,000. It's 52 total.
Right, but I thought it was capped off at 1,000 per house is the maximum that they could pay. It's just not, so I'm just not, I guess I'm not seeing how it can be more than, but.
Well, if none of them were within the 10 feet, it would be 52,000, but some of them are, so it's less than 52,000.
It would be 42,000.
That's explained the best way, yeah.
You see that?
Where's the 52,000 coming from?
Well, there's 52 parcels.
It says 42 parcels.
Those 42 parcels that are maxed out and the town pays for.
Right.
Part of it.
Right?
There's 10 that don't get maxed out. That
Okay.
the homeowner's paying all of it, but because it's less than 1,000.
So that would be less than 42,000, right?
What? No.
Okay, so.
No, it's more than 42,000 because that's including the cost of the ones, that homeowner number is including the cost of ones that are under 1,000.
Yeah, there's 52 parcels potentially that the program, and then where the 42 comes from, as Paul has said, that 10 of them would not even be $1,000.
All right, okay. All right, well, I get it now.
Okay.
Thank you for that help.
But really, so this isn't an I&I removal project. It's effectively the contractor's out there. We know that many of the laterals are deficient, so while he's out there, let's fix them. And let's use that template as a way to, all right, we'll stretch out the homeowner's responsibility so they're not writing $1,000, $2,000 checks. But we're not going to remove a lot of I&I.
Right, and there's the 15 sump pumps that you could potentially help with there.
Right. Other than the 15 sump pumps, we don't, I assume there's very little I&I, is that what we're saying compared to J.D. Hill? Very little?
Yeah.
As a comparison, yes, I would say that is correct.
Okay, and the reason for that is the difference in the soil or because the pipe?
It's higher too.
It's been,
It's very high.
It's high up on the hill.
elevation-wise.
It's high on the hill, so there's a lot of water moving under the ground.
Right.
Okay,
And-
I understand.
And some of the table
The
we
water
have
table
now
is-
is down
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
with
I
some of the
understand.
percolate
Well,
type
yeah.
soils.
Which is why the 4-inch and 3-inch laterals haven't manifested themselves as
Right.
big problems,
Yeah.
even though they were deficient, is because it was so high and
Yeah.
the soils were.
But there is
sick.
also outflow that's going into the
Yes,
groundwater.
Correct. There's no inflow,
That's-
it's outflow.
It's outflow to the groundwater, which is not good either, so that's a good reason to fix it too.
Yeah.
And out of the 15 sump pumps, it looks like 8 of them actually discharge onto the lawn, so that's not potentially really.
That's not a
So really
situation.
what it comes down to, what you would be looking for us is, what the details of what the homeowner versus the town's contribution is, given the fact that prices have doubled in 10 years.
A step even before that, do you want to even consider a service replacement program? And then the second step of that, what's the specifics if you do?
I mean, what's the alternative of not considering a replacement program?
Well, they live with deficient service laterals up to the property line that potentially could be a health problem if they back up into the houses. I mean, I like
Or
the
they
idea.
can hire their own contractor
Right.
if they do have a situation like that too.
But while, we have a contractor out there, it does make sense,
All right.
it would appear.
It's the proactive thing to do if we want to try to,
Right.
encourage.
I mean, why would we make our
replacement.
residents hire 20
Yeah.
separate contractors when we have a person out there? And we know that lateral, the question in my mind, but we're not removing I&I, okay, but we're removing some health risks.
Yeah.
and being efficient in the removal, instead of digging up 20 lawns, over the course of several years. When there's a problem, we take care of it all, and the neighborhood gets, regenerated. The question then becomes what are we doing? Do we want to do 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, or some other number? Really is what it comes down to. I mean, if you ask them even, to go your worst case here, 2,000, over 10 years, that's $200 a year. I think that's a significant assist by the town. And to the extent the town has very little motivation to actually do this from an I&I perspective.
Well, the other way to look at this, though, is that the people that are living farthest from the road are the ones
getting penalized.
Well, they're the ones that are paying for everybody else.
Everybody else,
for free. I mean,
you're right about that.
But
Well, see, it seems if you want to encourage people to participate, you want to set the minimum a little bit lower, right, at 1,000.
There is that as well.
Yeah.
Although they're going to pay a lot more than $100 or $200 a year. If they have a contract, you just see what, the repairs on some of those abatement requests.
Yeah.
A contractor coming in and doing an individual house is going to cost several $1,000s.
Yeah.
Even if they're 20 feet from the road. It's, the cost of mobilizing equipment and all of that is going to be significant. So I think whatever we do, it's a big assist by the town. It's just a question of how generous we want to be is what it comes down to, I think.
well, we do want people to participate.
Yes, we do.
I think.
So I have one other comment about the financial too, is we just got funded, the town just funded this project with water funds, sewer funds, and general funds just the previous year. And the contractor bids came under what we had for the town warrant vote in all of the general funds, sewer fund, and water funds. So there is a balance that the magnitude of this number, $100,000, say, could be covered with change orders with the contractor too. It's not like we'd have to go necessarily and find new dollars. It's already, we can bond that amount, or we've got the ability to make that amount in the contract.
Well, and then the other thing is the whole town paying for the replacement of these.
Right.
Everybody's paying for the replacement of these privately owned. I mean, you and I are paying for the privately owned
Yep.
pipes.
Yep.
The less that they contribute. So it's.
Well, in reality, you and I are paying for it anyway, and they're just paying us back over 10 years.
That's another way to look at it. Yeah, that's right.
They're paying a portion of it back over 10 years. You are contributing to some of it.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Any other thoughts on an idea, a preferred, anywhere from, we're not interested to let's do something, and what is it?
Well, I think we should try to encourage this program to happen, because I think it's a good idea for the service lines to be updated if possible. And I am in favor of having a lower maximum, so that it would encourage more people to participate, even though that is a more expense to the town. But it seems like the big picture is not a huge difference, so.
Do you have off the top of your head, I probably should know this, what the difference was in the engineer's estimate and the bid? Do you have an idea?
They didn't have a component for the private service portion.
Right, but do you know what the difference was between what was bonded and what the contractor's bid came in at? Do you?
Yes, I do know that.
Because my recollection is we got that bond at a ridiculously low interest rate, like, I think around 1 or 2%. Was that your recollection?
I don't remember.
I remember going through on the budget part of it, it was a really low interest rate. And so part of me says that in order to facilitate maximum participation, if we do have excess funds available at this low interest rate, taking advantage of the market situation, we should just pay for it.
Okay, so you
That would
would
get
add,
maximum participation. That would reduce, health risks down, potential health risks down to zero. And the fact that, we're having homeowners pay us back $48,000 or $50,000 over 10 years, I mean, you can argue all you want about these, your tax dollars, but that's nothing in the grand scheme of things. So I would just say, if there are excess funds available, then maybe we should use it. Do you have that number?
yes, you were asking total costs and total bid. Would you like me to break that down to just sewer costs and sewer bids? I mean, the sewer
Yes,
funding?
if you have that, yes.
I got
That'd be
them
most
both, so
appropriate.
whichever you.
The sewer, that would be the most appropriate.
So the warrant article allowed for $1,590,000 of sewer funds. The bid portion for sewer-related items, and I'll just round this out to the even thousand, $1,222,000. And so when I
So
did
there's a difference of $300,000.
$368,000, yeah. That's why it says we have enough in the balance there to cover that.
I mean, am I?
No, you're right.
I would say let's just do that.
Well,
I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to
without
have.
any participation.
It's not really fair to the J.D. Hill folks, but times were different then, and the bids were different, and the motivation was different too. So this is a slightly different situation.
Are you saying it's not fair to J.D. Hill because the minimum is much
Because we
higher?
asked them to
It's them
pay
to
some
chip
back.
in to pay some of it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of the opinion we should ask them to chip in and pay for some of it. It's their private thing that they own that we're repairing.
Okay.
I mean, I'd like the town to fix my roof too, but I don't expect them
No.
to do it. It's because it's below ground and it's already, the money's there, doesn't mean we have to spend it.
Well, for a lot of them, they are going to have to pay something, right? They'll have to.
Yes.
A lot of them will have to pay $1,000.
No, he's saying
Oh, to cover all of it.
Cover all of it.
Oh, I see.
without even having to have the project with participation.
Well, I'm just saying, people are already paying for it effectively once. But I certainly am all for, some sort of contribution.
I'm in favor of some kind of contribution. I think that people should take some initiative to participate in some way. Maybe we could lower it. It could be 500. But
I mean, I think the template of $1,000 was used effectively
Just
at
press-
J.D. Hill. I mean, like you said, 10 people won't even, get to that level. So they'll get no town assistance because they'll be under the 1,000 and they'll be responsible for all of it. But that's going to be the cheapest sewer work that they've ever had done in their house.
Yeah, they'll be responsible over the 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So they'll pay, maybe $60 or $70 a year instead of $100.
Now, how we worked it with the J.D. Hill, you paid your 100, and the last one might be $12.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it was $100 a year until you met
Till the last
whatever
one.
it was.
Yep.
that's great.
Well, is it reasonable to put forward a motion to provide a similar structure as J.D. Hill for the Salem Street project of going forward with this program, but requiring a maximum homeowner contribution of $1,000? for their sewer lateral replacements and drain replacements as required.
Is this something that we have, would this just make it go, or does it need to go before the select board, or there somebody else, or what is the effectiveness of this?
I mean,
Last time, if I could jump in.
we're the advisors to the select
Yes.
board, so what we would do is this vote would go to them, and then they would either change it or say, hey, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, is that a fair?
We vote to make a recommendation, right?
We're making a recommendation.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I thought,
yeah.
okay.
And if I could even go back further and remember this here, I think Mr. Kelly appeared at that select board meeting and voiced the support from
we can do
the sewer and water and sewer advisory board, and it passed then. But there was lots and lots more discussion at the time, because this was the first time that we were trying to tackle I&I with J.D. Hill in the private portion. So there was a lot of interest in it.
Yeah, well, that has more payout for the sewer plant itself, attacking the I&I.
Right.
There's not any real effect on load that we can see on this one, right? It's more avoiding getting effluent into the groundwater, because the water's flowing the other direction,
Right.
not in, yeah.
Before we go too much further, can I get a second on my motion for discussion at least?
Second.
So again, to summarize, we would be looking at a similar J.D. Hill model, whereby we would be asking the contractor would conduct sewer and drain, private replacements up to within 5 feet of the foundation. And the homeowner would be responsible for a maximum contribution of $1,000. If they were less than 10 feet from the road, then they would be responsible for whatever that amount is.
Well, it's actually 5 feet from their house is less than 10 feet from the road.
Correct,
So, yeah.
right. So if it's less than 15 feet from the road. Any further discussion? Well, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. So we will write this up in our minutes, but if you would like to, either you can present it to the board, or I can come and we can do it together, however you want to do it.
I'd like to do it together
Okay?
and go from there. At the next available one that I could get on the agenda. There is one on next Tuesday.
I suspect that agenda is full, but I can,
I'm not here next
Okay,
Tuesday.
then it'll be after that.
All right, so yeah, we'll look
I
at
will.
putting it on the agenda for 2.5 weeks from now. Great. Thank you, Paul, for putting this together. I will have this packet put in with a description of what we recommended to the board, put on the website, so people can digest that, and
Very
we'll
good.
go from there.
I thank you for your time.
thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll motor through the remaining aspects of the agenda. Regarding utility operations, some of you may have heard, Molly obviously knows, Jennifer Perry, our Public Works Director, is retiring at the end of this year, and will be a big loss for the department in general, but certainly for the utility. Jen has been at the forefront of making some significant improvements to both facilities as well as pipeline work throughout the town for 10, 15 years. So she will be missed, and I'm not sure exactly what the discussions are going forward, but I'm sure we'll figure that out as it goes. The good news is Jen will be with us through the budget season, so she'll have input on budget issues relating to water and sewer projects. So that is that. You also got a financials are sort of interesting. It shows that there's these really healthy fund balances, but if you look at the monthly cash flow, we're operating a deficit for most of the year. So don't let those fund balances. Most of it's because of those are total receivables and don't necessarily account for money in the bank to pay bills, and so that's what the actual monthly analysis is about. And looking at especially on the water side, where there's some significant deficits throughout, we will be discussing potential adjustments to the rates sometime this summer, probably. And at that time, I think it would be worthwhile to talk about that Tier 1 versus Tier 3 apartment and mobile home complex issue, and get all the information on that. So we'll be proceeding ahead with that. And I guess that's, does anybody else have anything else to bring up? We talked about financials, utility rates. We'll be looking at those later on this year. I guess one other thing, Mark Fabian on our committee is going to be leaving in August for a fun little family adventure for a year, and we will obviously miss him on the committee, but thank you for your service, and
Sure.
hopefully you'll come back a refreshed man and ready to serve again.
I plan to, yep, sure.
So this will probably be the last meeting without Mark, or with Mark.
You can't go on your trip unless you find a replacement.
That should be the,
It's a prerequisite, yeah.
So we'll be looking at Mark leaving, and Ben Mosier will not be available for probably another 6 months or so.
Okay.
In person, so we will need to figure out something on this committee as far as getting together in the future. So, but stay tuned.
Is there any recruitment process for members at all? Or, I mean, because if we end up not having a quorum, then it becomes an issue, right?
I mean, there's sort of an ongoing recruiting process. Russ has actually taken the step to put something on the website, looking for members, but there's sort of a catch-all comment like that on the website. Anyone who wants to serve on committees,
Right.
These are the ones that are available, and we haven't obviously gotten a lot of nibbles. So I don't know. I'm not sure how that's going to proceed.
It's not the sexiest committee replacement.
It's not. It's not.
That's a good one.
I was, with Paul and with these siphons and everything, there's a lot of technical stuff and sort of continuing on the conversation, but, it's actually sort of interesting.
Speaking of siphons, where are we on that? Is it finally?
Yeah, I think it's proceeding ahead.
Okay.
They were looking at getting some other grant funding, so that we wouldn't even have to use our borrowing. I'm not sure where exactly that is, but that's what was happening. Okay, so again, thank you all, and thank you, Mark, for coming and giving us a quorum, and we will stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, We invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.